I am the creator of Versus Saxton Hale mode, and Freak Fortress 2, and the Amplifier plugin. Now, what do I mean by the creator? Versus Saxton Hale is a collective effort. I am the person who took the base idea of 23 versus 1 against Saxton and made it a playable experience. Most of the established mechanics you can see in this game mode even today came from how I designed it back in 2010. That was a long time ago. Brave Jump, Rage, Weight Down, the 4 original bosses and their abilities, and also the vast majority of weapon changes, some of which in hindsight are terrible. And I hope that people who took over the plugin would improve that. But we'll talk about the weapon changes in another video. Recently, Valve have added scripting support to vanilla TF2, meaning I can now make a Versus Saxton Hale map that works with no plugins, upload it to the workshop, and hope that Valve will add it next Halloween to TF2 officially. And I am doing just that. But this is not the video about that map. We'll have videos about it later. This is the video about the early days of the plugin. Or should I say, this is a 3-part series. There is so much to talk about Versus Saxton Hale, I simply couldn't fit everything in one video. It all started from this picture, which is also where the plugin got its first 3D model of Hale from. People loved to imagine TF2 updates back in the day, when the actual TF2 updates were a thing. I wish I could give the author the proper credits, but the source of this image was lost to time. But we can give the credits to the voice actor for the plugin, Droox the Shredder. We can also credit the authors of the current Hale's model, Maxi, JP Russ, and Veli, and Flaming Sarge for taking over the plugin when I left TF2. While with most game dev projects you tend to change things over and over again until you strike gold, Versus Saxton Hale hasn't really changed much from its original vision, for better or for worse. You have the Brave Jump to deal with soldiers, demos, engineers, and locations otherwise accessible only through choke points. You have the Rage, which was initially made to deal with scouts, since the game didn't allow you to run faster than scout at the time. But then I quickly realized that sentries and their insane knockback is by far the biggest challenge Hale has to deal with. Since taking down Saxton was the objective, building the game mode on top of the arena, which was somewhat relevant at the time, was a natural choice. It's hard to imagine something like 5CP or CTF or payload when one of the teams is just Saxton. This choice came with the biggest downside of the game mode. If you die early, you're out of the game for up to 10 minutes. When the Two Cities update introduced the Reanimator to MVM, which allows you to revive their teammates, some versions of Versus Saxton Hale made it available in this game mode too. An unexpected solution came in the form of a skewed win rate. It's actually more fun when most of the rounds are won by the mercenaries, because it means you're less likely to die, since the rounds are shorter, and those who did die don't stay dead for too long. If anything, the game becomes a slog when there is only like 3 people left alive, and it is clear that Hale will take them down eventually. I have a solution for this issue for my upcoming map, but it's a story for another time. Another inherently unsolvable issue of this game mode is how unoften you get to play as Saxton. On a 24-player server, you get to play as Hale only in 1 out of 10 consecutive rounds on average, taking player rotation into account. If you much prefer the Hale's gameplay over the Mercenaries' gameplay, you are simply out of luck. And there isn't much players or developers can do about it, unless other people are willing to skip their turn. If this would be a standalone game, a matchmaking system could be a potential solution to both issues, but there isn't much a third-party plugin for TF2 can do. This is what Versus Saxton Hale was until April 1st, 2011. Upon connecting to the server that day, the TF2 client went to download some weirdly named files, and as players joined, they saw not who they were used to. Yes, you know who I'm talking about. To keep this channel family friendly, let's call him Redacted Engineer. So, Redacted Engineer was the first boss added to the game mode that wasn't Saxton Hale, and he was an April Fool's joke. And if you ask me, he's the best boss of them all. He trades the range of his stun ability for the Uber charge, which makes him immune not just to damage, but to the boss's biggest weakness, knockback. The idea of giving him the Uber rage came from the same place as the boss himself, from the YouTube videos. But once the genie is out of the bottle, you can't put it back. People wanted the Redacted Engineer to stay in the game mode as a permanent feature, so it happened. When Halloween rolled in, we added the Horseman Jr. Junior? I just didn't know how to make players bigger, which was lately proven possible by the other similar plugins I've seen here and there. And sometime later, the fourth boss was added. And in all honesty, I don't think these two bosses are done well. The lack of the jump ability makes the Horseman extremely annoying to play as, but his occasional ability to teleport also makes it annoying to take cover from the Horseman. The brutal sniper having a ranged rage attack is both insanely powerful and insanely useless, depending on the skill of the player in question. As the ideas for the new bosses were piling up, it was clear that expanding versus Saxton wasn't the way to go. It was the time to create a sequel focused on modularity and the ability for the community to create and plug in their own bosses. Thus, Freak Fortress 2 was born, which we'll talk about in a future video. People have found an interesting secondary use for versus Saxton Hale: Death Run. Death Run was already a staple of CSS and Garry's mod back in the day, but there was no Death Run plugin for TF2. The default arena had almost everything needed. It prevents people from respawning, and it ends the round if all runners are dead. What VSH helps with is forcing everyone but one player to the same team, and it also runs the queue for being the one controlling the traps. People have eventually made a dedicated Death Run plugin, but it happened a whole year later. A random piece of trivia about the health bar. Back when versus Saxton just came out, TF2 didn't have any bosses of its own, not even the Horseman. Therefore, the game didn't have a health bar widget. I thought it would be a cool idea if the mercenaries wouldn't be able to see Hale's health at all time, only once a minute. I thought the team would get too much advantage from knowing when Hale is about to rage or die. While some games, including vanilla TF2, benefit from not knowing the enemy's health, versus Saxton Hale isn't one of them, since his health bar is the game mode's objective. Imagine if you couldn't see the minecart location on payload. If there is one thing I have done badly, aside from the weapon changes, it is the auto-update system. Yes, versus Saxton Hale used to have one, but why was it terrible? For starters, people in general don't like auto-updates, and especially people who know how to host servers. Second, I wasn't a good programmer back in the day, and lacked the skill and expertise to guarantee that the new release is stable. That meant that oftentimes people's servers broke randomly because I've uploaded a broken version, and the update wasn't really needed from their perspective anyway. And third, server owners like to customize stuff. Currently, there's a few different VSH or Freak Fortress communities, all of which running their own versions of the plugins. Some servers have the amplifier, some don't. Some have the reanimator. Some servers run only the original bosses plus the Easter Bunny, which isn't my creation, but I don't mind.
Thanks, mate!
While others have dozens of bosses to choose from. This was the history of versus Saxton Hale back when I was involved in working on it. In the next video, we're going to talk about the weapon changes, the reasoning behind them, and why most of them, in hindsight, are terrible, and why in my VScript recreation of VSH, I'll likely ditch most of them. In the third video, we're going to talk about Freak Fortress 2, the bosses I made for it, and its coexistence with versus Saxton Hale.